Whether it's that restaurant chain, retail store, car maker, tech company, or even airline, many of us have developed attachments to certain brands and companies over the years that sometimes span an entire lifetime. On today's episode, we will take a look at some of those popular brands and companies that no longer exist along with the legacies they left behind, and why they were so important to some of us. Now, it truly wouldn't be a list of companies and brands that don't exist anymore without including Blockbuster Video. The video chain, founded in 1985, dominated the landscape for years before streaming became the popular method for watching new releases, and at its peak in 2004, operated over 9,000 stores with over 84,000 employees and 65 million registered customers worldwide. Blockbuster is often rated at the top of the list of nostalgic things, especially by those who grew up in the 1990s and early to mid-2000s. As America's #1 video rental chain, and with additions in the 1990s like video game rentals, things were going good for the company, and at one point they even received approval to build an amusement park in Miami. However, as the 2000s moved along, the challenges Blockbuster began to face were simply too much for them to handle. From the growing competition of Netflix's mail-order service, video on demand, and poor leadership, the company filed for bankruptcy protection in 2010, with owner Dish Network closing the last 300 company-owned stores in 2014. Blockbuster's decision not to purchase Netflix in September of 2000 for $50 million is still considered one of the biggest mistakes in corporate history, and likely could have changed the fate of the company. In the days before Amazon and online retail, if you were on the prowl for popular electronic products ranging from radios, batteries, speakers, headphones, walkie-talkies, tape recorders, VCRs, and computers, among many other things, then you were likely to make your way over to your local Radio Shack to see what was in stock. Radio Shack was founded in 1921 originally as an amateur radio mail order business in Boston, and was a household name even before its peak in 1999, with over 8,000 stores worldwide. From their top-selling citizen band radios, Radio Shack was well known for its quantity, quality, and sophisticated products that helped increase its popularity among consumers. However, with its failure to adapt and stay relevant in the 2000s by being stuck in brick-and-mortar locations at a time sales were shifting online, the writing was on the wall. Even as the company shifted its strategy towards cell phones and accessories, it clearly could not save the company in the end. And along with management problems and financial missteps, the company declared bankruptcy in 2015. In the years following bankruptcy, the name and rights of the brand would be purchased and used by other companies. But sadly, the company many of us knew to love is long gone. If you were in the market for a new computer in the 1990s or early 2000s, then there is a chance you purchased or at least considered buying a Gateway computer. Originally founded in Iowa back in 1985, as the popularity of desktop computers skyrocketed in the 1990s, Gateway became a household name and rival of another popular computer company, Dell, and at one point was the leading mail-order computer business in the United States. However, looking to expand even more, the company began to open retail stores across the country in 1996, and at their peak in 2001, had over 320 stores in the United States. Many of you may actually remember the Gateway computer commercials that flooded the airwaves in the late 90s and early 2000s. However, the opinion of Gateway computers varies depending on who you ask. While some found them affordable and reliable, others criticized the computers for being built with cheap hardware, backed up by poor tech support with a short lifespan. However, as the 2000s continued to roll on, this was yet another company that began to face challenges, even as they began selling their products with Office Max and QVC, along with offering new electronics such as TVs, digital cameras, and DVD players. With decreasing sales, store closures, and layoffs, it was no surprise in 2007 that Taiwanese company Acer acquired Gateway for $710 million and took its place on the list of defunct brands and companies. In September 2020, Acer actually revived the Gateway brand on laptops and tablets sold exclusively at Walmart. If there is one thing consumers have an attachment to, it's definitely their cars. During its lifetime, Oldsmobile produced over 35 million vehicles, so there's a good chance that you or someone you knew happened to own one. Established in 1897 and purchased by General Motors in 1908, Oldsmobile became a staple of the American auto industry, offering a diverse range of models to appeal to the demands of consumers. While some millennials may associate Oldsmobile with a car maker their grandparents drove in the 1980s and 1990s, the brand was actually an innovator, dating back to the 1940s as the first automaker to offer a fully automatic transmission in 1948, as well as being the first brand in the United States to have a factory-option GPS navigation system installed in the 1990s. Through the decades, Oldsmobile saw a wide release of classics, such as their versions of the convertible and sedan models, which became a common sight in millions of garages and driveways. While the brand peaked in the mid-1980s, trouble began brewing as they headed into the 1990s, facing growing competition. In the face of a growing competitive market, the brand began to redesign and introduce models such as the Bravada, the first and only SUV introduced by Oldsmobile, the Silhouette, to address the growing popularity of minivans, a seventh-generation version of the popular Cutlass series, and a new class of sedans. However, in the end, the new models and redesigns would not be enough to help the downward slide of the brand. And in December 2000, General Motors announced plans to shut down the entire Oldsmobile organization. At the time of its official shutdown in April 2004, it was the oldest surviving American automobile brand, and with that took its place in history. Before smartphones, it was personal digital assistants, or PDAs, that were a must-have device. The company that manufactured them, California-based Palm Incorporated, quickly grew after being founded in 1992, and by 1998 had more than two-thirds of the world's PDA market. At its peak in the year 2000, Palm's valuation was more than $53 billion, making it one of the most valuable companies in the world. However, with the emergence of smartphones in the early to mid-2000s, Palm began to take a hit and attempted to adapt to the market with the introduction of the Treo 700, a Windows mobile-powered smartphone released in 2006 in partnership with both Windows and Verizon Wireless. However, the move from PDAs to smartphones was not enough for the company, and it was acquired by HP for $1.2 billion in 2010. HP announced the following year it would no longer make Palm hardware and retired the brand, taking its place in the history books. If there was another iconic retail chain that has taken its place in the history books, it is definitely Toys R Us. Originally founded in 1948, the popular toy, clothing, and baby product retailer was a household name for decades, becoming a popular brand especially recognized by children born in the 1960s all the way into the early 2000s. Once the world's biggest toy store chain, it had over 1,400 across 31 countries and controlled 25% of the world's toy market at its peak in the 1990s. During the store's heyday, it seemed like everyone was a Toys R Us kid. However, trouble was on the horizon, as by 1998, Walmart surpassed them as the top toy seller. Ultimately, the brand became a casualty of the big box model it helped create, and with the rise of e-commerce in the 2000s, it became yet another victim of the retail apocalypse. Even despite efforts going into online sales with the purchase of sites like Toys.com in 2009, it simply was not enough to save them. In 2017, the company filed for bankruptcy with $5 million worth of debt. And the following year, the company announced plans to close all of its 800 remaining stores. In the years since, other companies have come to acquire the rights of the brand and even attempted relaunches. However, the original company many of us grew up to know and love is long gone. If you traveled on a plane prior to 2001, either domestically or internationally, then there is a possibility you flew on Trans World Airlines, commonly referred to as TWA. Originally founded in 1930 as one of the big four airlines along with American, United, and Eastern, it dominated the skies, becoming the third largest airline in the late 1960s. The airline ended up setting many firsts in the industry, including the first to carry passengers on scheduled coast-to-coast services in the United States, the first to require pilots to have a flight plan and checklist, and was even the first to develop and use the quick, frozen, pre-cooked method of food preparation for in-flight service meals. TWA was known for its high-quality service and comfortable seating, which made for a memorable experience among many passengers. Unfortunately, airline deregulation in the late 1970s, and ultimately investor Carl Icahn's takeover the company, and his subsequent moves proved to be fatal for the company. Over the course of the 1990s, the company declared bankruptcy twice, and with financial problems resurfacing in the early 2000s, American Airlines acquired Trans World Airlines in April of 2001, with the final TWA flight occurring on December 1st, 2001. Whether it was electronics, clothes, jewelry, furniture, appliances, or even tires, Montgomery Ward was one of the go-to places to get it all. Founded in 1872, Montgomery Ward became one of the biggest mail order and retail department stores in the country, at its peak operating more than 600 stores across the country. With its storied place in American retail history, it spent most of its lifetime as a direct competitor to another Chicago-based retailer, Sears, dating back to its early days as a mail-order business until its demise over 100 years later. While millions of shoppers flocked towards locations each year, the company had trouble behind the scenes on and off for the last 50 years of its existence, from fights over company control to the policy of renovating stores. The 1990s proved fatal for Montgomery Ward, who began losing ground to low-price competitors like Target and Walmart, while its electronic and appliance section, referred to as Electric Avenue, was facing competition from Circuit City and Best Buy, and with their nemesis Sears along with Kmart adding brand names to its racks and turmoil among management. By the late 1990s, the end was becoming clear. In 1997, the company declared bankruptcy and actually emerged from protection. In 1999, owned by the financial division of General Electric, where it made one final effort to remain competitive. However, that plan would fail, and on December 28, 2000, the company closed its final 250 stores and laid off the remaining 37,000 employees. In later years, a catalog marketer purchased assets of the company, including the name which they used as a new online and catalog operation. However, that company would eventually be sold to yet another company. One of the largest sports retailers in the country, Sports Authority at its peak, had over 400 stores located in 45 states, and an estimated $2.5 billion in sales. Tracing its beginnings back to 1928 in Denver, the retailer became a popular destination for those looking at anything from sportswear, snowboards, camping equipment, fitness equipment, and everything in between. The company was acquired by Kmart in 1990, who began to oversee its retail expansion across the country. However, as the company moved into the 2000s along with corporate strategy mistakes, allowing competitors like Dick's Sporting Goods, Walmart, and Target to gain ground, this retail chain headed on a path of irrelevancy. With the growing popularity of online sales, especially from companies like Amazon, it was simply too much. And in March of 2016, the company filed for bankruptcy. While later that year, its intellectual property was auctioned off for $15 million to its former competitor, Dick's Sporting Goods. If you ever ventured into a bookstore, particularly in the 1990s and early to mid-2000s, then there is a good chance you visited one of the hundreds of Borders book locations across the country. The company, originally founded in 1971, became a popular destination for books, music, and movies, and became a competitor with another well-known book retailer, Barnes & Noble. Many may not be aware the company was acquired by Kmart in the early 1990s, before being spun off into a separate company along with Walden Books to form the Borders Group in 1995. However, this was yet another company that faced problems going into the 2000s. With a change of leadership and questionable management decisions, the company began to suffer. Although the company trailed both Amazon and Barnes & Noble's new website, it still generated impressive online sales. But despite this, management decided not to increase its online presence. The company continued to suffer financially as the 2000s rolled along, and despite leadership changes, the company filed for bankruptcy in 2011. On October 1, 2011, Borders informed customers they were ceasing operations and that former competitor Barnes & Noble had acquired some of its assets, including trademarks and customer lists. If you did not see your favorite brand or company in this video, let us know in the comment section below, so we can include it in the next chapter of this series. While the companies mentioned here may be gone, many of them continue to hold a place in our memories and will not be forgotten. Make sure to click on the thumbs up and subscribe button below for future content on this channel, and thanks for watching.